Good evening, everyone. I'm David Thomas. This is Bo Gill.
Hello.
We're here now with Bedford County Live here on Shelbyville now. And before we get started, Bo, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance here at Shelbyville. We appreciate them
Yes,
being a
sir, we
sponsor.
do.
And let's pause for a second. Bo, we've got a really good show tonight. We've got two major topics that we're going to talk about and dive into and unpack and hopefully get some questions and some comments from everybody that's out there watching. But right
That's
now,
right.
let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance.
What you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Okay, welcome back in here. We're going to do something a little different tonight, Bo. We're going to have the chat on the screen with us so people can see all the comments that are being made, because I don't think everybody gets to see those comments. So now if you are on YouTube or on our website and want to see what's taking place in our chat, you'll be able to see that on the right hand of your screen as you watch. So the chat comments will come in. Bo, this weekend we had a post on Facebook from a local media source. It's our Hispanic media source, Shelbyville, Bedford. And it basically was talking about how there had been a change in policy when somebody locally was arrested or was pulled over, that they were getting held for 48 hours for ICE. If they were undocumented, they were getting ICE called on them and held for 48 hours, put on I think it's called a ICE hold.
Right.
Okay. That policy has been authorized in the state of Tennessee for years.
Yes.
Okay. It's been around a long time, but some counties didn't do it. Some city police officers didn't do it. So it's been a discretionary thing. And here in Bedford County, we've been really lenient as far as that goes, and nobody's ever been reported because honestly, the federal government doesn't do anything anyway for the most part, unless it's a big criminal
Right.
act.
That's right. For the majority, it's the weight of the crime
Right.
that enacts that.
Right. So it was warning people about this, and it was a really good post. And I'd like to basically go down some of the suggestions that they were talking about. They were saying, let's everybody support one another and do daily vehicle checks, ensure your vehicle complies with all traffic laws, including running lights, current records, and necessary documentation to avoid unnecessary police stops. Legal awareness, stay informed about your rights during interactions. Police understanding your rights can make a significant difference in these situations. Both these two first things about inspection of your vehicle and getting your legal rights and legal awareness. Great advice for anybody.
I do it. I try to check lights and make sure I got everything everywhere when I hit the road.
Exactly. Whether you're illegal, not documented or not, if you're doing this and abiding by the law, this is something good. Yeah. Good advice.
Okay? It happens to everyone.
Right. Community support. Let's support each other during these times. Now, this wants to, when I read that, I think, okay, these are some hard times. Okay. But let's think about who the hard times are for. They're for people that violate the law.
Right.
Okay. So after reading this, I contacted a couple of officers with the Shelbyville Police Department, and they had no clue what I was talking about. They said, no, we've been doing the same thing, and we're not changing anything as far as we know at this point. I also talked to someone that works, an employee of the Shelbyville, the Bedford County Sheriff's Department, and they told me the same thing. As far as I know, nothing's changed.
Right.
And this morning, I know we made some contacts to try to update this situation and get to the bottom of it. And I know you made a contact. I made a contact. City of Shelbyville still does not know anything about this. But from what I understand, this takes place now at Bedford County Jail when somebody is taken to jail. Can you explain the situation?
It does. Whenever there's someone that is not a natural born citizen and there's no record of, they are taken to jail on whatever offense it may be. It may be not a driver's license, from the smallest to the largest, whatever brings you to the jail. So what they do now is on every single.
Okay, before you go further. Okay, I've got this message 2 or 3 times today from Shelbyville, Bedford, and it's like a mile long. Everybody sees it on the screen right here. talking to me, telling me to do due diligence. And that's why we went to the source, Bedford
Yes.
County Sheriff Department and Shelbyville Police Department.
That's right.
We're not going to talk to people
No.
on the streets.
No.
We're not going to talk to attorneys that might be defending somebody in case, because that'd be a violation.
But we're just
we're trying to get to the bottom of it with law enforcement, and that's what we've done.
That's right.
Okay. And we are not here to make light of
No.
or discredit or do anything that would be derogatory. We're here to get to the bottom of it and then give advice as
Yes.
far as, well, it also accuses us of being a platform for hate. That's not what this is about. This is to inform and let people know what's really going on.
Yes.
And in that, today, we also updated that the Senate had a law before the Tennessee State Senate, and it actually got passed today. So now the passage of HB 2124 has taken place,
Yes.
and now this is going to be a requirement of all
Right.
law enforcement agencies.
Yes.
So you talked directly to the Sheriff's Department.
Yes,
today.
I did. And they are practicing that now, to where they put when someone is taken to jail that is not a citizen or does not have any documentation, or is known to be, I guess, not a citizen, they're taken and put in a hold of 48 hours for, I think it's called just an ICE hold. And they are ran through the system, and then they have 48 hours to respond to that.
ICE does.
ICE does.
Right.
If they do not respond, then they're out. I mean, it could be
Right.
5 minutes after that's out. They go by the law on this.
Exactly.
But if they do respond, then they have to. If they put the name out and they do respond, then they have 48 hours to come and collect the person in question.
Right.
So what they've done now is they've started practicing this on every undocumented person that they come in contact with, and this was all brought about. This has been on the law. This has been on the book of law. This is something that has been practiced, but not
Right.
to a certain extent, like you mentioned. But this did come in light of the Lake and Riley situation.
Right. The Lake and Riley situation could have been prevented had this law been in place.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of just good-hearted, servants of our county that so happen to work at the sheriff's department, they started, feeling, what if this was us? And in order to protect the citizens of the county, they felt that this was the best way to lawfully, make sure that we have, that we don't have someone, a wanted criminal or something, in the midst, and that is a danger to the public. It has. There's no mention of any type of people. It's just illegal immigrants, whether it be Switzerland or wherever. It's just about the documentation.
Yeah, we have been flooded with the multiple messages from Shelbyville, Bedford, Espinal, I guess is how you pronounce it. And let's see, Josh is out there trying to help us. So he has had to block the comment because it's the same thing. We're not, we don't want to be hijacked here. We want to share our story.
We want to tell the law what the law is.
is.
We're not talking any opinions here. We're just giving
this is
what
is the
is
law.
on the law.
And this is nothing new.
It's not. This is nothing that happened today or yesterday. There happens to be that this SB 2124 was passed and it goes to the governor's desk today.
I know, but there's always been a law
It's
that if
always been
somebody's
there.
undocumented, then they're going to call ICE. That's just the way it's
The
been.
difference is now, rather than authorizes, that it requires as per the verbiage of the law. So it's all just an author. It's a requirement that they have to do on each one undocumented immigrant they may find, whether it be from wherever. It's
Okay.
just an undocumented immigrant or illegal immigrant.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do now. Maybe everybody else can chat in and let's talk about this situation, because this is not how would this affect? I don't know what you mean. In other words, does this require more holding cells? We've got so many empty cells out there right now, Tim. We're good, but it's a 48-hour period.
Yeah, I don't know all the workings ins and out of it. I know that the law is what the law is, and that they will probably have to do whatever it takes in order to adhere to the law.
Right. We did reach out to the Shelbyville Bedford Espanola today to get them to come on and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
They said we'll have to do it on our platform. Well, We also reached out, went to their office to try to get that done, and no response at this point. But if this is not to create any type of division, this is to make people aware of what's taking place.
I would like to see unity right here. I mean, I think this is
Yeah.
a good time for us as
I know,
citizens to talk about an issue that affects a certain majority of our citizens here, that we need to work it out and not cause division.
Well,
I think we're here
I
to
think
just
this is,
tell what it is.
I think that this is, well, I don't know how to say it other than just coming out and say it. This was like almost they're coming after us.
Yeah.
And that's not what's taking place.
No.
If you don't break the law, you don't have anything to worry
Yeah.
about. Everybody needs to chill out and not worry about it. If you do not break the law,
that's exactly right.
That's pretty simple and straightforward. There's no reason to get alarmed.
No.
And I know they posted that and said that they weren't trying to alarm people, but I think they did a little bit.
Yeah, maybe they did, and maybe they prepared some that weren't too prepared, and maybe like this statement that they put out, it had some great stuff in there. So I think that it's helpful, and that's that's what we were doing when we reposted it. It was a good post. So we just want to make sure that the unity is there, and that the division goes nowhere, because this is just talking about the law the way it is on the books, and to have a respectful.
And I think they're trying. I think this has been interpreted as a race thing, and it has nothing to do with race.
No,
it's a law thing.
I haven't thought of race at all. I've just thought about, the words that I see. It could be Switzerland. It so happens that a lot of them are from Honduras and others. This is not a Mexican or any country issue.
No, we have Chinese coming across illegal. It's not about that. It's about what's going on here in Bedford County.
That's right.
And if you are here illegally, then you're basically sort of like a fugitive on the run, looking over your shoulder.
I mean, are we a nation of laws? Do we ignore some and do we enforce others? No, I think we should enforce them all, and that if we ignore any, then that's where a republic can fall.
Yeah, and this is where a failure to have clear policy on immigration creates division and problems.
I would say that is a very big. This is a very prime case of not having of the federal government not having the wherewithal to create a unifying way to handle.
Okay, here we're going to try to do it again. They're going to try to come in and we're trying to get a good message out here. So please, let's don't just start throwing all these messages at us. We got it. We got it today. You don't have to bring it back. This is not about hate. This is about the law, and this is about trying to inform people what's taking place. And Bedford County Sheriff's Department and the Shelbyville Police Department are not our enemies. They are our friends. They are doing their job to uphold the law. So don't be casting them as some sort of racist. Don't be casting them as some sort of enemy, because they are the people that try to keep this town safe and try to keep the county safe. So hats off to them for actually trying to enforce the law.
Yep.
And that's all I got to say.
To all the law-abiding citizens that have came, the right way, and that are on work visas or the other. I think that they have a little frustration in themselves also. And we just want to make sure that the laws are enforced in the right way.
I know a lot of people,
and we're in good hands here in Bedford County.
Oh yeah, I know a lot of people out there that have great families. They've been here a long time, but they don't have their paperwork in order.
Yeah.
Bottom line, they don't have their documentation. They've tried. It's a problem. I mean, we really have a hard process to go through.
Yes.
So the bottom line to those folks, you're fine. You don't have to worry about anything. Just make sure you got a driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, just don't drive.
Yeah.
The bottom line.
That's right.
That's
right.
Because that's what this is getting to.
And there are ways to sponsor, for families to sponsor them. I've been one myself to a friend of mine that is from Mexico that was not documented, and he worked here for 20 years. We vouched for him any way we could.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of friends.
we got him, got his papers, and he's good now. So I mean, this is not against people.
No,
it's we're talking about the law and the way that it's written.
Yeah.
And then the one that changed today, and
it didn't change. It just gave everybody a mandate that you've got to do it. You got to enforce it now.
It changed in the way that it has to be done.
You're right. It's not now. you should.
You
It's
should.
now you've got to do it. It's
Yeah.
a law now that
Yeah,
you
that's
have
right.
to do it,
That's
and a
right.
lot of cities and counties have just been lenient. Now they've got to crack down.
But
on
it does go to the governor's desk, and he does. We are
He'll
awaiting the
sign
government
it.
to
He'll
sign
sign
that.
it.
He says he'll sign
He'll
it.
sign it. He ain't got no choice. It was overwhelming. So,
Yep.
all right. Joe Finch is listening. Laura Blake, thanks for coming in there. Rita Briggs, law should be upheld. I'm going to turn this back on and hope that everybody would just, show a little respect here. We're trying to inform, and we're going to move on from this and talk about another topic, Bo. But before we do, I would like to thank Dennis Young Insurance for being our sponsor. And let's take a break, and we'll be right back after we hear a word from Dennis.
All right.
What you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All right, everybody, welcome back in here after hearing from Dennis Young Insurance. We appreciate those guys for being our sponsor today,
Absolutely.
as they are every week. But, Bo, we've got something else taking place. And before we jump into that and talk about the other subject tonight, I want to tell everybody a little bit about some weather that's coming in case you haven't seen. It's lightning. Some areas of Bedford County might be getting a few sprinkles. And I've pulled up radar, and there's a line of storms, which you've seen the wind already, but a lot of storms that are approaching Lewisburg and to the west. It doesn't look like they're real heavy. There's a line out in West Tennessee that might bring some maybe a little heavier rain, but we're going to have some rain tonight. And I was looking outside, Bo, when we got here. It was lightning and kicking up pretty bad.
And I thought
the
I
wind.
heard, the wind is just is absolutely incredible. If you've got anything that is liable to blow away, make sure to secure it right now. I've heard a few rumbles of thunder here in Shovel Now Studios, so just stay weather aware. And we did want to make y'all aware of that coming in. The wind's been rough. It's been rough the last
it has.
couple days, and now I think it's coming all to a head here with this, and maybe we'll get some relief after the front moves in. So
yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about our second topic of the night, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. And I can see now that a lot of people have left since we quit talking about this. So there were people here to try to disrupt. And that we're not trying to create, we're trying to inform and let people know what's actually taking place and not try to stir up fear.
No.
It's just, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't have to worry about anything.
that's exactly right. Bottom line.
If you're not a law-abiding citizen, then you got issues.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. All right.
Simple.
So, yeah, Jason, you'll be able to see a lot of people's character in the chat section tonight. Let's all be adults.
Yeah, yes, let's be adults.
All right, but let's now talk about the Shelbyville Planning Commission has a meeting Thursday night concerning the Jennings Lane property that's been in debate for the last few months, and it's going to come to a recommendation or a not recommendation or whatever it is that you're on the Planning Commission. Kind of give us an update on where that stands and what's going to take place Thursday night.
It's coming to us Thursday night, but not only is it coming to us Thursday night, it is coming back to us Thursday night. This has already been came before the Planning Commission. This property has been annexed into the city of Shelbyville. It approved, went through, and it's gone through its readings with the city council. It is a piece of property in Shelbyville, Tennessee, in the city limits. Since the annexation, the owners or the applicants, they have not bought this property. The applicants have requested a zoning change. So whenever a property is annexed into the city limits, it defers to R1 zoning, which is a low residential with pretty good size lots, bigger than average size lots, enough room to kind of move around. So currently it's been annexed in the city limits and it's R1. So the current applicant has put in a application for an R2 zoning, which is mid to low residential, medium to low residential. It gives smaller lots. They'll be able to get more lots.
We got somebody else in here. Jose Herrera. This is embarrassing. Take off your mask. We know how this works. What are you talking about, Jose? I'd like to know what that means.
Yeah.
whenever this cycles around. There's a little delay here. I'm anxious to hear that. But Bo, you're saying now there's been a request, and that's from the developer.
Yes, it has been from the developer, and he wants R2, and then a portion of it, the frontage up through Jennings Lane, R1. That is part of the application. That is what the developer wants, and that's what's coming before the Planning Commission Thursday night at 6 p.m. At the Planning and Codes building. It'll be a packed house that night. Let me tell you, it'll be a lot of talking, a lot of citizen comments, and there'll be a lot of back and forth with the Planning Commission as we come up with our, with our final ruling on that to pass it with a positive or a negative recommendation to the city council, which we call it a favorable or unfavorable. I couldn't think of the words there for a minute, but y'all got the gist. So we will not rule on it wholeheartedly. Whatever we say is not the end. The Planning Commission is giving a recommendation to the city council on a favorable or unfavorable recommendation for a zoning change.
Okay. So John Hart comes in. No, R2 is terrible.
And R2 is been redesignated in name only as it was R1 low density and R2 low density. Now R2 is low or medium to low density.
Dennis Grider's asking this question: how much of a lot difference is there between R1 and R2? Significant?
It's not a whole lot. It's probably, I would say, it can be up to 5,000 square feet probably.
What's the minimum?
The minimum is I don't have the numbers on.
That's
I can
the
come
key,
back with you
because I guarantee you the lots.
If somebody's got them, Josh might could come through if he knows those. I don't have the numbers on there, and I'd like to be certain when I'm talking. But I do not have those. But there is a difference, and it's enough difference to get probably another house on the lot. Where you could get maybe 2 to a R1 lot, you could get 3 to an R2 lot. Right. So it changes things. That not only the house square footage can change. It can be a smaller house. It varies in different differences in the zoning. But overall, R1 would be your standard. I would say half acre lot, maybe.
Okay, so that's kind of like what's in Fairlane and the neighborhoods around this.
Yeah, kind of like
R1.
that. Yeah,
they are R1, right?
They are R1. They are R1. So this right here knocks it down to where where you could get 2 on a lot on an acre. You'll probably get 3 on an acre.
R1 is okay. Josh came in there. R1 is 15,000 square feet minimum. R2 is 10,000 square feet minimum.
So 5,000 square foot difference, which I wasn't sure where the bases were. So if you see that and if you do the math, that's where the difference is in the density. They will be able, you'll sacrifice the lot size for more smaller homes.
So Donna Smith comes in. The dumbest, most irresponsible thing the city can do. Let's see work on infrastructure, roads, and schools before they build these huge high-density developments. Now, this is going to be different, and it's proposed to be different than the one that's going to be across the highway where they have 715.
Not only different, but much different. This is 100. This one on Jennings Lane is 120 something units or dwellings to be built. The one, like you said, on off of 230 or off of 41A or Union Street is a PUD, is a planned unit development, which will be kind of its own.
Well, it had a lot of multifamily stuff in it.
It had a lot. There's a lot of multifamily. There are a lot of detached, attached living. I think there's maybe plans for some type of commercial there. It's something that we don't see a lot here in Bedford County. You see a lot in Murfreesboro. You see a lot in other counties. They're trying to start a trend here. So that's what they're doing with that big development. And when that has already been in front of the Planning Commission, there's been a traffic study that has been going on. I would assume that this will be back before the Planning Commission again. It was deferred. And I assume it'll be back within the next month or 2.
Okay, Josh, on this property, the R2 they are asking for would give space for 130 plus homes.
Thank you, Josh.
Keeping it at R1 would limit it to roughly 90. Now, I understand that the restructure of the lot, they basically got a little strip in the front that's R1.
Yeah, and that was already that way, but what they did is designate it. They were keeping a part of it.
So
R1.
The front of it looks like not as dense, and then the back of it, it packs them in a little more.
Yeah, it's kind of an optics type.
So Here's a good question. What is the advantage to our neighborhoods to change to smaller lots? There is no advantage. Joe, I'll answer you that.
The
right
advantage
now.
is to the owner, is to the home builder.
Yeah, it's
they're
not.
getting
It's
more,
not to the owner.
No,
because we don't have as much elbow space that way.
Well, it might be for a cheaper price home, but it might be an inferior condition, quality home.
The one thing I see about this, those homes in these PUDs aren't any cheaper than they are the ones sitting out on the land. I mean, they're high.
Oh, in the PUDs, that's right. But if you start getting into maybe R2 and some of the smaller development, if they're not adhering to the strictest standards, and your builder is a homegrown builder that you can kind of know, then a lot of these, they might come in and throw something up and get out.
I have voiced my opinion on this, and I don't like it. Okay, I don't think it's a good thing to go R2 on any neighborhood that's adjacent to a neighborhood that's R1. It's going to decrease the value of those neighborhoods that are R1 if you put an R2 right next to them. All right, so here's my question, Bo. The developer, will they be using out-of-town builders, or will they be using local builders?
And see, that's a lot of times they can promise one thing and do another. I've seen things like this happen, and the developer comes and represents something, and then it changes hands. So really, it doesn't matter what he says right now, because it's still not really happening. But of course, he says he's going to use, local builders here. I mean, you want to, if you can get local builders wherever. If you're an out of town builder, you don't want to pay that much in travel fee. So you do want to get a good relationship with the local builder. And I think that's what his intentions are here. But then again, intentions and what's reality sometimes differ when push comes to shove.
Yeah.
But I do hope that
we've got a lot of comments here. More housing, meanwhile, terrible roads all over Bedford County, and there are grants available. Why aren't we taking care of that? Now, this is in the city that we're talking about, but the county is going through the same type of thing.
They are, and they're searching these grants now. I tell you, to plug in and to see what's going on and attend some of these meetings. The city manager Collins is really a pro at finding these grants, and he's doing a lot to do exactly what you're saying. I can't speak for the county. I'm not sure about them, but I do know the city has several coming up the road, and they've actually just gotten started, and some conversation about the 437 bypass, maybe the funding with it. So there's actually, that was at the last city council meeting where that was actually mentioned.
That could help the traffic flow out there, but it's the way I understand it. If they started today, it'd take 10 years.
Yeah, it would. And it's not even in the 10-year plan.
Yeah.
So it's a major situation. The Old Nashville Dirt Road, or the Shaw Road that runs into Old Nashville Dirt Road, right in there, that little hill is so dangerous. And then you've got the Jennings Lane. You've got a pretty steep shoulder there. I mean, it's definitely something that has not been ignored and has been talked about ad nauseum, and it'll continue to be as long as the development is coming in. We've got to do that, because we've got to keep up with the to be able to support all of this.
There's a lot going on here that we need to look at. Tim Baker, I got to agree with Donna on this one. There really needs to be some emphasis made, just making sure that the lights and water can handle it.
Yep.
Not to mention traffic. All those things have been talked about, and that's a big concern of our citizens here in the city.
And when these things do come in front of us, the city of Shelbyville Power and Water, the police, they all do sign off on this. So a lot of times we're relying to these heads of these departments that they've done to their best knowledge that they can. So a lot of times when they say yes, it'll prove it, well, they've signed off on it. So
man, a lot's going on here. All right, Steve,
all right, let's go.
All right. William Cruz, going back to him, the advantage is tax dollars for the city. That's a possibility.
Yes,
they got to pay property taxes in the city and the county. The county's going to benefit from this as well.
That's right.
All right. But how we manage that money is very important. I think we got to get our ducks in a row before we start piling in more money and more people, because like Tim Baker said and Donna Smith said, we have got to have some road changes. We've got to have some upgrades to withstand this. And I don't care about signing off. We heard a report about a month ago where the fire chief, the police chief, and public works director all said, right now we can't deal with this. They didn't come right out and say it. And they'll sign off on it just because they don't want to rock the boat, okay? But we do have problems, and they have to be dealt with and addressed, okay? Jeff Sweeney just announced at a county meeting that 2,000 lots have been approved for development in the next 4 years. I don't know where that's at. That's got to be county because that's what he deals with.
I know in the city, in a mile area radius at 437 Fairfield Pike intersection, there's 750 approved. Some of them have started to go up, but that shows you a lot. And where is the infrastructure, and where in Fairfield Pike is not ready to support that already, not to mention the new school coming in there, Cartwright Elementary.
Yep.
So
Yep.
stay tuned to that.
There's a lot of stuff going on. And right now it seems like everything is just kind of in disarray.
Well,
because we've done a poor job in the past of planning for where we're at right now. Because nobody saw it.
There's been a lot of talking though, and I think we've got some good department heads there that can get on the same page. But it takes everybody to do it. And as far as spending money, we don't want money going into lawyers' pockets. So why not put it ahead for a better city and a better county?
All right, Faye Martin Cruz replying to Joe Finch. It's a huge disadvantage to our neighborhood because the traffic on our small no shoulders road is already overused. It's like a bypass already on Jennings Lane.
It's been a
out the
bypass
back way
for years,
yeah.
And I can't imagine the traffic now.
Well, it's getting worse.
Yeah, with Union Station almost fully built out, I can't imagine that is a major problem. Right. In my opinion, the safety on those roads is of and should be of major concern to all those involved in these these even if they don't call this a big subdivision. Hey, this is 130 something homes. It's pretty big.
All right, I want to bring this up. The county put a temporary moratorium on PUD developments a while back earlier this year.
Yes.
Earlier in 2023, and it's not since it's expired, and I don't think there's been anything else apply for it that I've heard about publicly. And there might be something in the works that we don't know about. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
So what would be wrong with the city doing something like that as far as the dense populated stuff until we can get our infrastructure built out? Well, I mean, like to put a 5-year moratorium on this piling it on stuff.
I feel, that feels like it's been creeping into my mind the last 3 years, 2 years, especially. How do we handle this? Do you want, you don't want to put the burden of a moratorium on a citizen and on a blossoming county.
No, I'm not talking about that.
But sometimes you have to.
I'm talking about the PUDs.
Well, on the PUDs in the city. That sometimes you don't want to have to put it on those, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Because right now what they're doing is they're delaying and putting off and trying to get their ducks in a row, and they don't know what'll happen when it might be the right time for everybody because of the development to put not only PUDs but a lot of major subdivisions on the back burner where we can figure this out. And I mean, limit it to 6 months, or you could go however long they wanted to.
Okay.
But I mean, there needs to be. We're trying to remodel the house while we're living in it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times you need to.
We're flying the airplane and building it while we're flying it too.
Yes, that's exactly.
That's
right.
more like what we're doing because we can't mess up on a wing and crash. All right. Here's the other question I've got for you, Bo. I want to know legitimately the voice of the people. How much does it weigh in this decision process that's going forward? To me, until recently, I hadn't seen much input, but now we're getting a ton of input from the citizens of this county and the city, a lot in the city now. People have come out and voiced their opinion against this overwhelmingly. How much does that influence, or are we getting any representation on this as citizens when the decision's made?
Your representation in the city is all on the city council and your mayor. That is where your representation. Me as an appointed planning commissioner, we have a set of rules, and we abide by. We use them as a way to kind of give direction to our decisions. But sometimes it's not always. It's a decision that's outside the box. You hear. So that's when public opinion comes in, and I think it would be doing a disservice not to listen or to have that public comment, even if you're on appointed board, because regardless of what's going on, you're appointed board from representatives that are getting represented. So you're a cog in the wheel of the government, of the local government,
right?
Good, bad, or ugly. So I would hasten to say that you should, ignore, and that public comment should not be involved. I think it should be involved at plan commission levels. But most importantly, I think where you get things done is at the city council level, and that's where they can go by the plan commission's recommendation, but guess what? They have the right to not go by. They're not beholden to what the planning commission
Right.
says. We're an advisory board. We give our like, for instance, on the Jennings Lane, we have already given our opinion on that.
And what was that?
And that was to give a non-favorable recommendation for R2. In other words,
How about just
our
say-
opinion was to keep it R1.
Okay, why don't you just say let's keep it R1?
Because the
request
application
was
for an R2.
That makes sense.
So for a favorable,
There's
or
people that
unfavorable.
have this question.
Yes,
So
no,
if they
yes.
ask for R2, you're going to say that's unfavorable. We'd rather it be R1.
Yes, if they
Okay.
wanted to get a reason why, and you should have a reason when you vote.
Sure.
Either for or against something. On the planning commission now, as a city councilman, you should have that too. But you actually have the right to say, because my constituents say.
Well,
no.
that's the only reason they should vote. What the constituents are telling them to do, that's what their job is.
That's right.
That's the job of the Bedford County Commission, and the job of the city council is to represent the ward or the district that they're serving in, not serving themselves, not voting on what they feel
That's right.
or what they hear. They need to get out and find out what the people want. I think the people will be coming to them. Now, there will be a bunch of people there Thursday night.
Oh, yes, they will.
Will there be a public comment?
Oh, yes, there will.
Okay, who's listening to that?
Well, they are. I hope that everybody's listening to it. I will be in my seat as a commissioner, and I'll be listening. I hope that everyone does. We just listen. We don't respond during that time, but we listen, and it has to be things on the agenda, and we're going to hear a lot of it. So come and talk. That's your right.
Yeah.
But then, we'll let it go. But let's just hypothetically say that it goes forward with a favorable recommendation, and we give one to R2. That at the end of the plan commission, it's not over. The World Series of the whole decision.
Well, it's going to fall on the council.
It's on the council.
All right. So, okay.
But your voice is important at all levels of meetings, and especially at the planning commission.
Let's see. Here we go. Let's back up. John Hart, you will struggle to find one person in Garden Gate Fair Lane or Green Hills that want R2 on Jennings Lane. You won't find one. You're absolutely right, John. There is not one person.
I haven't looked, but everyone I've seemed to find, they don't. That's true.
Emily Gill, yes, both. All right. And then Donna, the brakes should be put on these massive development programs because there's no long-term planning on the city or county. Lots of new homes bring lots of children. There's not enough schools to educate your children. Then you have Greg Vick telling the Bedford County spends $9,000 and some change, which is lower than Perry County. Okay, Bedford County. Well, that's another topic on the education budget and so forth. We've been looking at some numbers and crunching those, and we'll try to get the accurate data out for that. But you're absolutely right. If the thing about these massive developments, they sound so massive on the front end, and it's going to take a number of years for these to happen. But 7 years happens just like that, Bo.
It does, and they're saying 10 years.
10 years happens just like that.
It does. They used to say that when I was younger, and I was like, "You're crazy," but no, it does. After a few 10 years.
Joe, this is a great question, Joe. Shouldn't there have to be a reason to change the zoning as well? The reason is the developer wants it changed, that they're considering this.
Yes.
Since it's been recently annexed, R1, they're requesting it. It's the only reason that your planning commission is hearing this. There's no other reason but that building.
And if his question might be, is there a reason for the planning commission? Should they give one in favor of it? Then yes, they should, because they should say, it aligns to the future growth, or that it is not spot zoning. So yes, we should give a reason whether we are for a zoning change or against it. If that's what he was meaning. I'm not sure.
And to back up and say this again, R1 is what fits the bill for that area.
It does. When you look at the zoning map, it's fit right in between two R1.
All right. So here's a question for people that live out there and for other people that are listening. Would you be opposed to R1? It's already R1. Are you opposed to there be any building there at all? Or are you just opposed to R2? This is very important because a lot of people just don't want anything built. Okay. Right. And that's just not going to happen. It's not reasonable.
No, it's not.
But it is very reasonable to request it to be R1 and think that it should, since everything else is R1.
Yes.
That's logical.
That's right.
Okay.
And it's reasonable to have your voice heard.
Okay. John Hart is no. What was that no to? Was that
is that a vote for the
I don't know.
HUD?
John, come back and explain that one. Are you saying that no, you don't want anything built, or are you opposed to R1? I think you're saying no, you're not opposed to that. I'm for R1. There you go, John. Good decision. And Tim Baker says, great question. But this is I mean, I've been called anti-growth, okay, because I made comments. I'm not for stacking houses on top of each other.
Yeah.
I am. That to me, this is not growth. Okay, this to me is just packing out the city of Shelbyville and expanding the boundaries. And the growth to me is the infrastructure changing. The demographics locally with the dollar bills are changing. People's incomes going up. That's growth. This right here to me, if you don't grow this other way and you just pack people in, Shelbyville gets a beer gut, is what I say.
You can call it a roommate mentality, or you can call it a bedroom community mentality.
Well,
but that's what, if you look at the headlights that are coming home from work on 231 or on 41A, they're coming back here. If you look at the headlights, where are they going in the mornings? They're going north or south to Huntsville.
Yeah, great talk tonight, guys. We appreciate everybody chiming in there. The first topic we almost got, they tried to hijack the chat, but they all left when we blocked it. But that was not intended. And that first topic was not intended to create division.
No,
it was created. We tried to create some clarity on what our local law enforcement is actually doing without casting fear on people.
That's exactly right.
So we will continue to fill people in on that. And William Cruz came in. R2 would devalue the property in Garden Gate as well as surrounding subdivisions. Yes, absolutely, it would. But I'm for R1, healthy building. Because there's always people that are going to move to town that want a nice home and a nice subdivision. We need to make nice subdivisions available, not this cookie cutter, stack it on top of each other. And I don't want anybody else to call me anti-growth. Okay, no. I want to see this city grow.
He's not anti-growth.
And I promise you, growth is not just about numbers of people. That's, to me, that's the after effect of true growth. Is people will want to come here. Businesses will want to come here when we get our ducks in a row and get things planned out right.
It's not just quantity; it's quality of quantity.
Yeah,
and what you got. And I
Emily says make a poll on the website. We're going to see.
We need a poll.
There's not enough time. And speaking of polls,
the poll. What about
I did send a letter to every city council member and every commissioner and the 2 mayors concerning our lawsuit of city and county. Thank you guys for participating. Over 2,100 people voted on that poll, and I turned those results over. And I know Mayor Chad Graham came back. He said thank you in a response. I've had some other commissioners say thank you. And I want to keep doing stuff like that because it's important to get the barometer of the people, especially when our representatives seem they just don't seem like they're doing that.
No, they don't. They don't. Not a lot of them. And we just come here with logic. We just come here with truth. We want to speak logic and truth. And there's going to be a lot of misinformation in there. But whenever you're weighing in on a poll like that, what you're doing is you're giving your voice value, because we are passionate to the representatives, and they are hopefully reading this and taking into account
okay, all right. Stephanie Isaacs, the council also has to follow laws and rules. And the laws and rules say that you guys, the city council, can vote however you want to. You're not adhering to any developer that's out there. The developers don't make the laws and rules here. The city council has an obligation to say we want to zone this property this way because it's the best thing for Shelbyville, and it's what our constituents want.
Yes.
If you do not pay attention to the constituents, then you're not doing your job. That's all I'll say about that.
Very well said.
So good comments and good discussion. Let's voice our opinions and don't stop, because that makes a difference. I've seen it make differences lately.
It can make a difference. It will make a difference. Yeah. And we need to all talk. No matter who we are, we got to talk together. We got to live together. Here we are. Let's do it. Let's, make a positive impact on somebody. But look, don't compromise on the truth and on the rule of law, because that's what's got us, that's what built this country, and that's what's going to sustain it.
I see you, Capri. Good comment there at the end. We want to thank our sponsor,
yes,
Dennis Young Insurance, for allowing this to happen. Great dialogue tonight, folks. We're going to be back again same time next week. Hopefully have some updates on these 2 subjects. And there's another thing brewing that we'll talk about next week.
Absolutely.
Y'all guys have a safe night. Watch out for the storms.
Yep.